Hey guys, this is Corey from Redefining Strength. Welcome to the Fitness Hacks Podcast. This is a show where I share all my free workout and nutrition tips. I'm not going to ever fill this episode with sponsorships or ask you to buy anything. All I ask in return is if you're enjoying the podcast to leave a review or leave a 5-star rating. Or even better, share it with someone you think it might help. This will only take a few minutes and would mean the world to me and possibly change the life of someone you know. So let's jump right in. Stress and your diet. When we think about stress and we think about our nutrition, often we think about the things we do or do not eat out of stress. But our diet can not only be impacted by stress, but also impact the stress levels we feel. And I'm super excited to dive into all this today with Andrea. Andrea, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here as well.
So let's talk about stress in your diet. What is the impact stress can have on our diet, and what impact can our diet have on our stress?
Sure. So nutrition plays a role in managing and reducing stress. The relationship between diet and stress are mutual. Not only can stress influence our eating habits, but you can also impact your stress levels and the different foods and the way your body reacts to stress as well.
Now, I think a lot of us are a little bit more familiar with the impact that stress can have on our diet, whether we eat out of stress and some foods that are more comforting than they are nutritious, or even having stress impact us in a way that we don't eat. Can you talk a little bit about why we even turn to specific things often when we are stressed?
So when we're stressed, we're looking for something to self-soothe. So we want to make sure that we're trying to find a way to make ourselves feel better. Either we go in and we hide, or we go out and we eat something. So we're trying to self-soothe. So it's just an innate way for us to make ourselves feel better when we have a reaction. Either we're nervous, we're anxious, or we're stressed. So we turn to something that's going to make us feel better. And food being one of the things that help us makes us feel better.
And a lot of us can even think of, when we're talking about stress, those foods we turn to. I know I'm a desserts person, a sweets person, so I turn to those things. Why do you think that we often turn to specific foods when we are stressed to help ourselves comfort ourselves?
Sure. So we're looking for that increase in mood, that increase in feeling better in that sense. So a lot of times, like you said, you turn to desserts, candies, and cookies. Those can lead to rapid increases in blood sugar, but also rapid drops in blood sugar. And that causes our mood swings to go up or down, but it also can cause our stress. And then on the other side, it can cause inflammation as well, which negatively impacts our stress too. Sometimes we also turn to caffeine or alcohol. A lot of times when I'm really stressed out, I'm going to have a glass of wine, right? Yes, that makes us feel better at first. It helps us relax, but then it also disrupts our sleep, which in the long time can help us, or which in the long time can increase our stress levels as well.
It's kind of interesting to think about, but we turn to these things out of comfort. And then in comforting ourselves momentarily, we actually create more stress for ourselves, or a lack of sleep, which creates stressors another way, inflammation that is a stressor on our body. So it's we turn to sugar, we turn to alcohol, we turn to caffeine, all these things that ultimately negatively impact us and keep us stuck in that cycle. And it's something that I think we're all prone to. And it's not just those foods, right? It's even processed foods that we can turn to. What impact do they have? And then how can we break this cycle?
Sure. So the impact is specifically for processed foods. There's a lot of diets high in processed foods, but they're going to lack those essential nutrients, and leading to deficiencies, which then can in turn increase our moods, affect our moods and our stress levels. A lot of additives in processed foods, like food colorings, MSG, also have an impact on our mood as well as our cognitive function. But to break that cycle, that's where it's a little hard, because this is a habit that we've always done. So one, we need to recognize that it is a habit, but also we have to take a step back and realize, what are the other things that we can do to relieve stress? Is it going for a walk? Is it doing deep breathing? Is it journaling? Is it something that we don't have to turn towards food? Or can we get can we get those foods out of the house, out of sight, out of mind, and maybe turn to something that might be a little bit more helpful in terms of how to deal with stress?
It's hard, though, to break those patterns and behaviors. And I think the first step is giving ourselves grace when we do repeat that, stress eating pattern that we've always fallen into, but then step back and recognize why it's occurring, what stresses led up to it. And then I love those replacement behaviors. Sometimes it is simply removing something from our environment. Sometimes it's saying, hey, when I walk to this cabinet, instead of going right for the thing in there, I have to go take a walk around the neighborhood, or I have to go do my workout. I have to do something else before. And if I still want it, then I can even work it in. And even sometimes saying, hey, I can work this in, and if I want, can help us alleviate any feelings of guilt, which might contribute to us then eating out of stress and even feeling worse from it. But not only are there replacement behaviors, there are nutritional strategies we can implement or things we can focus on in our nutrition to help us not only not eat those things out of stress, but better manage our stress levels. What are some things we can start to focus on if we are finding ourselves stressed or wanting to repeat that same pattern in terms of adjusting our diet?
Sure. There's five nutrients that we want to look for specifically. Complex carbohydrates, right? Like whole grains, they increase the availability of tryptophan. Tryptophan is in the brain, which is converted to serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter, and serotonin helps us increase our mood and our relaxation. And then on the other side of that, protein. Protein amino acids are precursors to the neurotransmitters, which we just talked about, tryptophan. Tryptophan's in turkey, chicken, dairy, those kind of things. And those are the precursors to serotonin, which then again leads to increased mood and relaxation. There's also healthy fats, omega-3s specifically found in fish, flaxseed, walnuts. They're crucial for your brain health, and they can help reduce inflammation and stress. And then there's a couple of vitamins and minerals that we really want to focus on, one being vitamin B. It's essential for energy production in our brain. You can get that in whole grains, meats, eggs and dairy, but then also magnesium, which Michelle talked about a couple weeks ago, helps regulate our cortisol. It helps promote relaxation. We can get those in dark leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and whole grains as well. And then vitamin C, which helps support our adrenal functions, right? That's where we kind of really feel that lull when we're really stressed out, really feel that fatigue. So to reduce that, we can eat our citrus fruits like oranges, strawberries, bell peppers, and broccoli. Those will really help bring those vitamin C levels up. And then last but not least, we can't forget our antioxidants, berries, nuts, dark chocolate. Who doesn't want dark chocolate? When you have that craving for dark chocolate or something sweet, why not turn to dark chocolate and some raspberries? You're getting both antioxidants in both, and it's a great snack. But that's going to help combat our oxidative stress, which can contribute to anxiety and depression. So those are a couple of foods that we really, really want to focus on. But we also then can turn to some different patterns, focusing on nutrient-dense foods like fruits, vegetables, more whole foods, right? We want to get more from the source, more out of the original source. And then balanced meals, really eating at a regular time every day, every couple hours, because we all know when our blood sugar gets low, we become that really hangry person, and we're going to be really irritable and really stressed. And so why not get onto a balanced plan where you're eating every couple hours, but eating balanced meals to prevent blood sugar fluctuations, reduce stress and anxiety as well.
Really, by addressing some of these things in our diet, we can help prevent stress levels from rising even more in the first place. But we can even think of some of these things as the replacement for the more processed foods we might grab. If you're craving something salty, go for those nuts, get those healthy fats. If you're craving something sweet, go for the dark chocolate and maybe berries, even mix in a Greek yogurt parfait to get that protein. We can think about using some of these things to not only replace the more or less macro-friendly things we would have that would bring us into this negative cycle of feeling guilty then for eating, which takes us down the spiral. But we can also help alleviate future stress. And I do love that you mentioned the meal timing as well, because I think a lot of times we know when we're going to have a stressful time period of life. We know when life is going to be shifting slightly, whether it's priorities with work or, kids going back to school or whatever it is. And so proactively, we can even consider, hey, what are my stress levels going to be? How can I make sure that I'm not getting hangry or not feeling so deprived? And how can I create that interval or eating schedule that will help me stay consistent and get in those nutrient-dense foods? If you're working with somebody, who is going to be having a stressful period, what sort of recommendations do you make for them, Andrea, I'm not going to call you Michelle from the magnesium, but Andrea, all the good nutritional things, dietitian approved. But what strategies would you sort of implement with them to make sure that they're getting ahead of things? Because I think the more we plan for those times where we would usually eat out of stress, the better off we're going to be.
100%. And it's all about planning and setting yourself up for success. You know, the kids are going back to school, right? It's a change for you. It's a change for them. It's a huge new season in your life. So why not pre-plan for it and try and set yourself up for success, but also have grace because you know those moments of stress are going to happen. Working in some of those foods that are, you know, that are going to be a feel-good food for you. So maybe packing your lunch for the day when you're going back to work. Maybe you're a teacher going back to work and it's, you know, the first week of school. It's a little stressful, but setting yourself up for success, maybe putting in kind bars that have a little bit of dark chocolate and some nuts in there that'll help you with that sweet craving when you're stressed that, you know, you can grab to. But making sure you're eating those snacks throughout the day, maybe limiting your sugar intake or limiting your caffeine intake because there's that fine line when we're feeling a little bit tired, we gravitate towards caffeine to perk us up. But then if we go too far, we're going to get a little anxious. So making sure that we're limiting our caffeine intake. And we forgot one specifically about staying hydrated throughout the day. Staying hydrated throughout the day is super, super important for your energy levels, to help you feel full, to help, you know, fiber go through, all these different things that we're looking for that can help our cognitive function. But setting yourself up for success on those days when you know you can pre-plan, maybe do some ingredient prep, but also just try and do what you think is best, that 1% difference than the day before, and actually get yourself into that normal schedule. See what worked for you, see what didn't work for you. At the end of the day, assess your stress levels. How am I feeling? What if I went for a walk? Is this going to make me feel better? You know, yes, I really want that candy bar. Okay. What if I went for a walk and thought about maybe listen to a podcast and I come back, do I still want that candy bar? Why don't I have half today and maybe have the other half tomorrow if I still need it? You know, I'm not going to say that you can't have that food that you want, but just work it into your schedule and making sure, okay, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to need an apple. And if I still want it, then have it because you're going to eat 5 different things to get to that craving anyway. So planning your success throughout the day, but using those different techniques, breathing, journaling, maybe reading a book or gardening, going for a walk, drinking water before you go for the candy bar, just trying to knock yourself out of that knee-jerk reaction so that way you're not going for it all the way and analyze, do I really need it? Do I not? What could I do differently? And just having that little conversation with yourself really helps you step into that other fork in the road in that different direction to change that habit.
It really is that self-awareness and that little pause to reflect that makes the difference because it's not bad to have something we're craving. It's not bad to say, I do want some caffeine. I do want my glass of wine. I do want my processed food. But you want to strike that balance and also not have it be something you just default into and repeat that same cycle, creating more stress, more guilt, not seeing the results you want snowball. It's why tracking to even work those things in so that you don't feel restricted can be key. And it is why, you know, taking that time to have that water and then say, what do I really want? Because as you pointed out, if you keep trying to willpower your way through like cravings that you truly want something, ultimately, often we end up still eating it and we've eaten 5 other things in the meantime, or we go overboard with it because we feel so guilty and we take that flat tire and then go slash the other 3 tires. So it is about really assessing what you want and just trying to break the instant pattern of going to that comfort food to help alleviate your stress over saying, what do I really want? What is my balance? So in sort of summarizing all these tips for people, if you were to give them sort of a checklist of here's how to navigate stress a little bit better through your nutrition, what would that be?
I would start off with eating balanced meals, you know, making sure you have everything representative in your plate, you know, your protein, your carbohydrates, your fruits and vegetables, your fats, healthy fats as well. And then try not to skip meals. Try to make sure you're packing healthy snacks. And apples really portable. Oranges are super portable. Bananas, you know, those kind of things are really portable throughout the day. Carrot sticks, just if you want something crunchy. So setting yourself up so you're not skipping those meals and keeping that blood sugar at a consistent level. And then, of course, limiting the sugary snacks and the caffeine. You know, like you said, go ahead and have that coffee, but maybe have a latte with almond milk instead of, you know, the vanilla with it or whatever it might be. But enjoying that, but at a different level. Maybe having a herbal tea instead. Staying hydrated is the number one thing that I really want to drive home because that will definitely help you feel full, but it'll help with your digestion as well. And then mindful eating. I think this is the hardest one, but mindful eating, being self-aware of where you're at throughout the day, can help you reduce stress and think about different options that you could do differently next time. And of course, stress is going to happen. Stress is always there waiting for you. What worked for one day might not work for the next day, but really having that self-awareness of saying, okay, I did this yesterday and it worked. I'm going to try it again and see if it works. And pretty soon you'll notice that habit is going to be changing and you're going to go in a different direction.
It is trying to change those mindsets, the environment that we're in, trying to break that instant response so that we can actually pause to assess what we want. I think that's so key and so important to really highlight in that, yes, you're trying to get that protein. Yes, you're trying to eliminate processed foods. But a lot of it is just making sure that you are truly consuming something that you want, striking your balance, and not creating more guilt or more stress around the decisions you've made, but actually trying to move forward to feel and fuel your best. Thanks for listening to the Fitness Hacks podcast. Again, this is the place where I share all my free workout and nutrition tips. I'm never going to run sponsorships or ask you to buy anything. All I ask in return is if you're enjoying the podcast to leave a rating or review or share it with someone you think it might help. This will only take a few minutes, and it would mean the world to me and possibly change the life of someone you know.